Hey, I'm Doug McAllister, lead pastor at Journey Fellowship Church in Slidell, Louisiana. And this is Stories I Didn't Get to Tell Last Sunday. It's our weekly podcast from Journey. And today joining me is David Bottner. David is the executive director of the New Orleans mission. But more than that, David is a 20-year friend. And I wanted you to hear David's story today. So David, over the next 30 minutes, I want you and I just to kind of relive some of our adventures together and tell some stories about what God did in your life and what you're doing now with the mission and kind of what's happening in the Bottner world with you and Emily and all those beautiful babies the Lord's given you. And so anyway, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad you're here, bro.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So we go back, David, 2003?
Yes, 2003 we met.
I remember the night you got saved.
Yes.
Yeah, so you were just reminding me of the date. I'm just so impressed you remember the date of your salvation. You know, I think that's such a key thing that a person, keeps as a reference point, the day they came to Christ. And not everybody can remember the exact date, but you did.
I do. And I think for me, it was so transitional. For me, it was like a defining moment. And I know maybe some have like a defining moment of time, right? They're like over this course of time.
Yeah.
For me, it was so definitive because it really was like a moment of change. God really did for me.
Yeah.
Like Paul, like it was a person walked into Journey Fellowship that night.
Yeah.
And a different person literally left Journey Fellowship that night. Like that was absolutely what happened. My mind began to change, and like I cried for the first time in probably years from like joy. Like I wasn't like disappointed cry. It was like, and it was unmistakable what happened that night,
Yeah, and you guys got baptized that night.
That night too, Emily and I.
I know, you didn't waste any time.
No, it was freezing cold, and I was like so happy to be.
We had that little portable baptistry with no heater in it.
Right, and air conditioning from the building.
I know, right.
And no towel.
I know, man. We just like, let's just do this.
Let's do this.
Yeah, so we were doing the Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames stage production, which, was pretty interesting in itself.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I probably now looking back, I don't even remember what happened.
I know, right?
But I just knew that God said that this is the time.
Yeah. At the close of that night, when we gave the invitation, you and lots of other people responded for salvation. And we just decided on the spot, let's do water baptism too.
Well, I think though, for me, and I guess that night was defining, but you were doing a series called The Passion.
Right.
And it led up to that night. Mm-hmm. So it was like 4 weeks you really taught on like Christ and all the prophecies that he fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, he's real.
Yeah. Man.
Like God's real.
Yeah.
And for me, it was anything that I did, I was 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I was 100 miles an hour towards hell.
Yeah.
And then when you preach those 4 weeks, I'm like, if he's real, then I better get out of hell,
right,
and head 100 miles an hour the other direction.
And man, you turned on a dime.
But God did
turned on a dime.
Yeah, but that was God.
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact that wasn't me.
Yeah.
It's like Paul's like, you meet Jesus for real.
Yeah.
And then change happens.
Right. He knocked you off your horse.
Yeah.
I know.
If you don't see change in your life, then I say to you, like anyone who would be listening, like if you're not noticing you're a different person, then you better get back on your knees and say, God, is what you did in me real? Because I don't want to stand before you right now. Yeah,
I forgot about that series, but we've done a couple of other ones like it, but we went through the 300 prophecies or so that Jesus fulfilled.
Right.
Most of them out of his control, like the place of his birth, the place of his burial, and many other things in between that he had no control over, and his life fulfilled every one of them.
Right. And that's when you broke it down to like the odds of that happening were harder than hitting the lottery. And I'm thinking, wow, he planned all this. And
no person in the world ever in history even came close to fulfilling half of them, and he fulfilled all of them. Right? So, God totally changed your life. You were a very successful businessman at the time. I remember you started coming to our church. I think LeGrand invited you. Is that right?
He told me.
He told you
about Journey.
Oh, did he?
He didn't go. He like went one time. He said, "You should go check out this church.
You should go check it out for us.
You should go."
Yeah, that's so great.
But it was the funniest thing because the way that it happened was I was driving across the bridge from Slidell, my home in Lakeshore Estates, and I wanted to die.
Oh my God.
And I remembered on that bridge, LeGrand said, "You should go check out." It was, the church at that time.
Yeah.
And it was Harvest by name.
Right.
So you should go check out Harvest.
Yeah.
And that came to mind, and my mom had always been praying for me.
Yeah.
And I turned back around.
No way.
And I went to my home, like we hadn't even met yet.
Right.
And I said to Emily, who was living with me, I said, "I feel like we're supposed to go to church."
Oh, wow.
And I was so vile and disgusting. She's like, okay. Yeah.
Wow.
And then that Sunday we went, it was, and that's kind of how it happened. It was like, and that now, almost 19 years later, that was God saying, "Hey, go to Harvest."
Yeah.
And I didn't, I couldn't know what that was then, other than just this thought that came to mind. And it was just, you start to put the pieces together, how God entreats us.
Yeah. So you were driving across the 5-mile bridge
To die. I just wanted to die. I wanted to drive off the bridge.
You were just done.
Because
And was LeGrand with you in the car?
No, just me by myself.
But he told you earlier.
He had said it earlier, a day, like days before, and then that thought,
my goodness,
God brought to mind.
Isn't it incredible how God uses one person's word just to change everything?
Life or death.
I know. What if
because
he had
I
not
had
said that?
so much death spoke over me before that, and that was one that God used.
I saw
for life.
LeGrand a couple of days ago. We were doing a relief line after Hurricane Ida, and LeGrand came with his son, and they worked a relief line one day. So, it was like, oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful thought that how much of a change that God had in your life by an invitation from someone who really didn't even go to our church either.
Right.
You just need to go to it.
He just kind of heard about it.
Yeah, and he's been coming ever since too, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. So you and Emily were living together.
Yes.
Yeah, and y'all started coming to church every Sunday. I remember seeing you.
Yeah.
You come by and you had what kind of car did you have at that time?
I had a Jaguar
Yeah,
convertible.
you had a Jag. So anyway, I was working parking lot because I like to do greeting in the parking lot. So we were parking cars, and I was greeting, and we had, it was some nice cars there. But when I saw the Jag roll by, I was like, holy cow, man. Somebody from Hollywood just rolled in.
Yeah.
So we parked you got out. You look like $1 million, but we had no idea what was going on inside.
Dead inside, yes. Dead inside. That's the crazy thing is that, I looked like I had it all together.
Yeah.
Because I was successful.
Very.
Right?
Right.
Had the beautiful girlfriend. Beautiful cars, big boat, beautiful home.
Your home.
But I was dead.
Yeah.
And my money was my God.
Yeah.
And that was, it was sad.
Yeah.
Because drugs were part of my life. Alcohol was part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Just as I was full of sin.
Yeah.
And everything that I was doing was just seeking comfort
Yeah.
in anything and everything
outside
of God.
Yeah.
And nothing, as we know now, will ever produce comfort outside of intimacy with Jesus.
Yeah, and I think that's true for all of our sin.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for some relief from their pain, some escape from their circumstances, or just a moment to breathe, and sin promises but never delivers.
And even as Christians, we can fall into that trap.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I see it in the ministry.
Yeah.
Now it's like God will, bless the ministry with so many things.
Right.
And then I find comfort in that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, this is still apart from the Lord.
It's still the
and
world.
It's not it won't.
Yeah.
So it can happen even in things that start out good.
Yeah.
But they become the idol in our hearts.
I really think, David, it was divine that God brought you to our church at that time in that series we were doing.
Yes.
It was exactly what you needed to hear. It's like the Lord was orchestrating all these details.
Without a doubt.
LeGrand, the series, the Heaven's Gates.
He did it before time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Before I formed you in the womb.
Yes. I knew you.
Yeah.
And all your days were written.
cold chills.
Yeah.
That's the Lord, man. It's been a almost 20 year journey for you, man. Of course, now I had the privilege of marrying you and Emily.
Yeah.
What a beautiful wedding.
Well, the interesting thing about even how that came to pass was my desire to not be married.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to do it again because I'd failed at another marriage.
Right, you told me that. Yeah.
And at a Wednesday night service at our church, because Emily and I now, like, we were all in, like, but I still don't, because I'm like, everything's going so well.
Yeah.
Like I'm a different person. I'm left. I feel content. Like I actually have this thing, joy. Like I'm happy.
Right.
And it's apart from drugs. And I'm like they went away. Drugs went away. Alcohol went away.
Yeah.
Lusting after other women, like all God just took it away.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting in church one day, and you had preached, and then Ken was praying, and it was a Wednesday, and I'm like, I really feel like I'm gonna go up front, and like I want him to pray for the business, and like because it was still that worldly side. Like I wanted all that God had. Yeah. And I remember going up for prayer. Yeah. And Ken had prayed for me. And I had asked him to pray for my business, and he had prayed for like everything but that. That's great. And I'm like, while he's praying, God spoke the first time where I knew that it was God.
Wow. And
he said, I want you to marry Emily.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like if for a second, I thought, I can't. I'm going to blow it again. Yeah. And he said, no, I want you to marry her. And I said, when? And he said, right now. Wow. Like now, meaning not like at that sec, but in that time. Sure. And so I sat back down and I literally looked over at Emily, romantically in church. Yeah. And I said, hey, I feel like we're supposed to get married. Yeah. And she said, when? This is a conversation in church, right? Yeah. And I said, like, I feel like as soon as we possibly can. Yeah. And she just started crying. Oh. And I was glad, like, she was going to say yes, because I was so bad, you know, before that. Right. And so that's when I got in touch with you. And within a week, Em and I got married. Mm-hmm. But this is the crazy part to that story, is everything that I wanted God to do. Yeah. That I wanted prayer for, God did. Oh boy! After I said I do, so it was like God was showing me the scripture that literally was the first one I ever taught on, which was seek ye first the kingdom of God and all His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. My business after that point skyrocketed. Like what I thought was wealth just went through the roof. Right. And it was like I wasn't even doing anything. I just said yes to God, and then God just blew everything up.
Matthew 6:33. Mm-hmm. Man, I think, too, that's so true in all of our endeavors. Sometimes we forget that if you put Jesus first, everything else follows suit. Yes. But if you seek everything else, you lose it all.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got to do your wedding. It was down in
Mexico.
I went to Mexico.
And I'd lost my mind a little bit there.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I don't remember.
This was a pivotal moment for me, and I remember it because it's sin. I always remember my sin really well, and I for a reason though. I feel like for God, He impresses it upon my heart, so I don't want to do it again. Yeah. So it was. I feel like with addiction, sometimes that we all, as addicts, and this would be set some people free, is there's a moment in time where you slip. Like it's like you forget that that sin actually didn't produce anything good. Yeah. But there's that you have so much joy, so much stuff, and you're like, I can dabble. So we went out of town. You married us, and I had done acid.
I didn't know that.
I did. No, and because you don't even remember.
I don't.
Because I confessed it to you a week later. God told me to. Wow. He said, I want you to confess it to your pastor. I said, confess it. I confess it to you, Lord. Yeah. I didn't want anyone to know the sin. Mm-hmm. I confess it to you. So you said, so you don't even remember. Yeah. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's God.
Totally God. You said, have you repented to God? Yeah. I said, I did. He said, then it's done. You're not going to do it again. I said, that was so simple. Yeah. I don't feel judged or condemned by Him at all. Yeah. You and I got out of the car. I was completely free. Yeah. That night I had a dream. Yeah. in the dream, I was snorting cocaine, which was my drug of choice prior to salvation.
Right.
And my body parts started to deteriorate, like in the dream.
Oh, Jesus.
And I literally wake up from the dream, and God says, if you ever use drugs again, this is what will happen to you.
Oh, boy.
I literally saw my dad over his death. His body deteriorated in the same way, and it was because he would never stop and he would never turn his life over. Yeah. And I saw the parallel, like that's what could have been, and that's what God set me free from. So thank you for not judging me, and thank you for not even remembering it.
It's just the grace of God, David. And you know, I found in my life that when I repent to God, he forgives me, but when I tell somebody else, it breaks the chain. I don't know what the spiritual dynamic there is, but when you say it out loud and you own it, it's like the Lord just drives darkness away and light takes its place.
Well, that's what the scripture that the Lord had given me, which is 1 John 4. He says, whatever we bring to the light and confess, it's in the light. Satan can't use it against you anymore.
Right,
so there's no more shame attached to it.
Boom. And when you get free of shame,
it's over.
Yeah.
And so that's what, like when I left you that day, I really, up until that point, I had shame.
Yeah.
When we literally were just driving in the car,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I got to tell you something.
Yeah.
And we were turning, for me, onto Old Spanish Trail.
Yeah.
It was just like we were circling the corner. I mean, there's moments where you remember.
Absolutely.
They're defining moments. And then that dream just kind of cemented it for me.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
man,
never again went back. And
that's
that was
powerful.
Literally the last time that I used drugs. That was 18 years ago.
Powerful, bro. Mm-hmm. We had some good lunches together, didn't we?
Yes.
We had a lot of lunch times, man.
Well, you had, I think for me, and that's why I encourage a lot of people, the time that was probably one of the, there's been moments that are very dear in my life.
Right.
But you invested with me every Monday. For 3 months.
Yep.
And we did a journey to wholeness.
Yeah, it was called Enjoying Your Journey.
Yeah, that's it. It was a blue little book, and you let me for 90 days.
Yeah.
Like I even asked questions about dinosaurs. Like it was like it's like whatever you want to ask me.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I remember us talking. One of them was like, "What about gambling?" And it was like I never felt judged in the question because I did all these crazy things.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Well, is that the best way to invest your money?"
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, of course not.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I was answering my own question on whether I should continue these behaviors.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like you told me no. You just let me make the decision.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, wow.
Right.
It's all in there, And we did that for 90 days. And that's why, like, people need to get involved with discipleship.
I mean, they do. It's powerful.
Like just going to church on Sunday is great, but it's so much more depth when you start to develop the relationship inside the church.
Yeah.
You're going to grow.
I think we did 12 weeks.
Yeah.
We did every Monday for 12 weeks. And there's something that transforms us on the inside when we are one-on-one or in a small group.
Yes.
In searching for the answers to our faith. And you probably don't know this, but that's when we first got the idea to change our name to Journey, was out of that book.
Wow.
Because I just love that name so much, man. We used that book. We still use that book to this day.
Love that book.
Yeah, we still use it to this day. But that word just really just echoed in my spirit, that we're all on a spiritual journey, and we're better when we walk with somebody else in our faith. Yeah, so those were some really good memories, man. Our 12 weeks. Was it in Heritage Park? Where did we do that?
We would go to different places, but we ended there.
Yeah,
because we met in a couple of coffee.
That's true.
A couple times, but then it kind of towards the end it was Heritage Park. I don't know if it's timing or just more private or what it was.
We could walk and talk. Yeah, and you were memorizing the books of the Bible in order. Remember all that?
Yes, I don't remember them now,
but then you did.
I did know them then.
You knew all 66.
I kind of, I still can navigate the Bible well, but I don't recall.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it's all in the U version, so it's all in order now.
And it's in me more now.
Boom, right there. It's in you.
Sure.
It sure is, man. That was some really, really good days early on, man. And you and I became really, really close, and we did a lot together.
Yes.
We got to travel together. We remember going to Atlanta. and we went to the John Maxwell.
Yeah, to teach, and I was freaked out.
Well, yeah, we were training to go.
Yeah, you always pushed me well. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I would call, hey, David, I'm going to go to John Maxwell training. You want to go? You said, oh, I'm really busy. Dave, I think you need to go with me.
Yeah.
Let me think about it. But anyway, you decided to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
It stretched me.
Yeah. So we went over to Atlanta. We spent, was it a week there or whatever?
Yeah, it was a few. It was
3 or 4
probably,
days.
it was.
So we went through their million later mandate training.
Yes.
And then they assigned us to, I forgot where we went already.
Philippines.
Yeah, you just told me. Yeah, we went to the
Philippines.
Twice.
We went twice. We had to commit to 2 trips, and we went
true.
twice.
Yeah, we went twice, and we spoke to a lot of the leaders on the islands. And man, I didn't realize how many islands that was.
Well, you remember when we got there? Literally, when you spoke, I looked, and I was sitting on the piano.
Yeah.
And it was like 2,000, and they traveled for hours. And I'm thinking, I was crying.
No.
Because I'm thinking, these people traveled for 8 to 12 hours to be here to listen to us.
Yeah, talk.
And I'm thinking, what do I have to tell the people that are willing to spend all this time?
So
they
true.
get $75 a month.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I make that like in a minute.
Right.
And I'm going to say, they should be speaking to me.
Yeah.
And it was like how God used that.
It was
just for me
I know it.
and for them.
Right.
And I'm sure for you too, because it was a great experience.
Yeah. It was kind of overwhelming, to be there. It was like you said, 2,000 pastors.
Yeah.
And many of them walked. They rode horses and bicycles
Buses,
and trains.
Yeah.
Came from all over the Philippines. To that meeting. It was transformational. And then we went back and did it again.
Yes.
Which trip did we get stuck in the airport?
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Because the first one, the cloud cover was covering the mountain, and they were concerned because they didn't have the fancy planes like we had, and they didn't want to wreck into a mountain.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, that's probably a good thing.
That's a good decision.
Yes. And so we got on the last plane. Finally, they put us on. They said we're diplomats.
Yeah. We were there
or ambassadors.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't know how they got that idea.
I don't either. But God gave it to him because I kept saying, well, we are ambassadors for Christ, so let's just go with it.
Yeah, we didn't lie.
Right.
They just assumed that we were ambassadors.
Yes.
We were in that airport in Manila, right?
Yes.
For like 13 hours.
A long time. It was a very long time.
They do have really good floors because the marble was hard.
Yes.
We sat there for 13 hours.
Yes.
And you went to the desk and said, hey, I'm going to charter a flight.
I was going to pay for one.
Maybe that's why they thought we were diplomats.
Could have been. But we got the last 2 seats, and we got there. Because I remembered thinking, Lord, if you brought us here even just to do this, I actually felt like, okay, I even had just felt like God had spoke to me before us even going.
Yeah.
But he had obviously a lot more planned because that was a really enjoyable trip. I mean, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. So our second trip, we were at a hotel, a decent hotel. And remember, they came to us, the host of the event had us in the hotel, and they were chauffeuring us and taking us around. They came late one night and said, Mr. Bottner, Mr. McAllister, we have to move you to a safer hotel. And you're like, what's going on? You said, well, there's an Al-Qaeda cell active in the city, and they're looking for Americans tonight to blow up a building. And I'm thinking, oh, Lord Jesus.
Where do we get ourselves into?
What's going on? So by cover of night, they put us in a car and drove us to another hotel, which wasn't nearly as nice as the one we were in earlier. It was so bad. Yeah. You asked for the presidential suite.
Yeah,
remember?
I said, you got a suite? And they did give me one, but yes.
And the bed was like 100 years old.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But we were safe.
Yes.
They took care of us, man.
It's so funny because God laughs at us, right?
He does.
Here we are and I'm still like looking for the fleshly comfort, right?
Yeah.
And God's trying to break that out of us.
Right.
But he's still so patient.
He is.
Right?
He is.
So kind.
Yeah.
Laughing at us.
So we had this little, I don't know, mom and pop hotel that we spent the last 2 or 3 days in.
Yeah.
But hey, it was great.
It was.
It was fine.
That was the time too.
Yeah.
That you spent your anniversary with me.
Oh
Remember?
my gosh, I forgot about that.
And they put us at the little table.
It wasn't my anniversary. It was Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. And they put us at a little table. It was, remember?
David.
And they put a little red ribbon
No, I
on.
remember.
And it was like we were sitting at
Well,
that table together.
We made reservations, you and I,
That's
to
what
go
it was.
eat dinner that night in the hotel. And neither one of us thought that it was Valentine's Day.
Right.
And we show up, and there's all these couples
Yes.
having Valentine's dinner, and me and you.
with the little red bow across
And they
the
brought you
tail.
a rose.
Did they? I don't even remember that.
I don't know what they thought. We didn't say anything.
Yep.
He brought you a little rose.
All right.
Yeah, so let's move on.
All right. I forgot about
We
that.
had our Valentine's dinner together.
Yes.
See how close we are?
Yep. That was good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a
Yeah.
great time. So we got to travel a lot together. We got
Yeah.
to do a lot of outreaches together. And
Yes.
you went to India with Pastor Ken.
I did. That was
Yeah.
my favorite mission
Tell us
trip.
about India.
Ken and I went to India. I think it was like 2009.
Yeah. That's about right.
And he and I went, and that was really impactful because it was first of all, it's a great time. I love Pastor Ken.
Yeah.
He was another one, invested a ton of time in me.
He's amazing.
We would meet after you
Yeah.
every morning and go work out together at
Right.
the gym.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't your gym buddy.
no, you didn't like the gym.
I still don't.
He loved the gym.
He still runs.
And we had a great time because he was another one that I would ask questions to,
Yeah.
and he would never give me answers.
Mm-hmm.
He would always make me think
Yeah.
and let me get the answer on my own. And I'm like, he never answers the question, you know?
Yeah.
But over time I got to realize what he was doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just appreciated him.
Yeah.
So we went out,
too.
had it like you, just a ton of enjoyable time with him.
Yeah.
Always trusted him so
Yeah.
much, loved
Yeah.
him,
Yeah.
still do.
Yeah.
But we went and we were staying at a hotel. I mean, the hotels we stayed in the Philippines were like
Yeah.
the palace
Yeah.
compared to India.
I know.
Because you would, squatty potties,
Right.
bucket showers.
Right.
I mean, it was rough.
Yeah.
And I remember there's no suite either. It's just all the same.
Yeah.
Electricity shutting off. But one day I'm in my room. I had 2 children at the time, David and Mia, and we were done. Emma and I she wanted more kids, but I was really, because David had really a tough couple first years. I think he hated me like first 2 years. It's like he cried all the time, screamed, only wanted his mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, kids don't even want me. So like these are the last 2.
Kids don't want me. That's great.
And God said on that trip
Yeah.
that I'm going to give you a son, and I want you to name him Jeremiah. And so I came back from that trip, and I told Emily, we got to have another kid.
Wow.
And she wanted one anyway. So she's like, when? Like, when you want to get started? I'm like, well, get the IUD out. And
Yeah.
let's
Let's
try
get
to
rolling
have-
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember walking and talking to the Lord, and came back home and just knew that it wasn't going to happen right away, right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, she's pregnant, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be Jeremiah. Wow, this is crazy. And
boy.
then here comes Ayla.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, I'm thinking, well, I guess we have to have another one because Jeremiah's got to come. I mean, I know I heard from the Lord.
Yeah.
Because when you're on a mission trip, it's like you're really connecting with the Father.
that's
Like
the
there's no
truth.
distractions. There was no TV.
Yeah.
And in India, it was like it was just a depth with the Lord, just a really beautiful time. So I really knew that I heard from Him. But then here comes Annabelle, and I'm thinking, okay, that was a sweet time, but maybe I was just maybe it's like an emotion.
Yeah.
Like an emotion that came on me.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to doubt.
So you thought you missed God.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I really thought I missed God.
Yeah.
And then literally 10 years later,
Yeah.
almost to the day,
Oh my word.
Emily gets pregnant.
Yeah.
And God says, this is the one I've been telling you about. It was just that
You just knew.
that was what he said. So I told my kids, I said, this is the one. This is Jeremiah.
Yeah.
They're like, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. You said that before. I said, no. Dad said it before.
Yeah.
This time, Dad's dad said,
Yeah.
God told me this is Jeremiah. And sure enough, Jeremiah came. And so he's like his brother, David.
Yeah.
Feisty. But he loves his dad.
Yeah.
But he's still feisty.
Yeah.
So thinking that he was the last one.
Yeah.
And along is coming one more, number 6. I don't know what it is, a boy or a girl yet.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a boy or a girl.
So Emily's pregnant with number 6.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I saw your oldest at the graduation when our son graduated from Northlake a few years ago. Man, your kids are so beautiful, so grown up. You know, I remember Mia when she was born. We dedicated her to the Lord.
Yes.
And go ahead.
I remember one of my favorite pictures is in Journey with Mia.
Yeah.
Like, it is probably my favorite picture. Yeah. She's sitting on the stage.
Yeah.
She's got her right hand up, and she's in a little jacket, and she's worshiping the Lord.
Oh my gosh.
And our, youth, when it was over, she had to be 6.
Yeah.
So it had to be when, we were here in Lacombe.
Yeah.
And she's just worshiping God, and I'm thinking,
oh my gosh.
She was getting it, at Journey at just 6 years old. It's beautiful.
So she came up to me that night, and I hadn't seen her in probably 3 or 4 years. And it was like we took up where we left off.
Yeah.
She came in and hugged me.
She's a beautiful girl.
Girl, you're just like your dad. She's so loving and, tender-hearted.
She's beautiful.
What a beautiful girl. Man.
Thanks for saying that. I don't think of myself as tender-hearted.
Oh, you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a David for sure.
Thank
your
you.
mom named you right, man,
Thank
because
you.
you're like David after God's own heart, man. That's the kind of guy you are. You're a warrior too. That's where little David and Jeremiah get. That's that feisty spirit. You are feisty, man.
Yes, I am feisty.
You know you're feisty.
I know I am. Yes, and I know they are.
It's in their genes. They get it naturally. But David was a tender-hearted warrior.
Yeah.
And David, that's a rare combination when you find a person with a tender heart, the heart of a poet, but the brawn of a soldier. Yeah, that's a great combo, man.
You've always been a good encourager, brother.
Yeah, well, it's true, man. Just call out what I see in you. You got good stuff in you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we had great times in the Philippines. We got trapped in airports. We got chased by terrorists.
Yes.
We got to sleep on old mattresses. Then you got to go to India with Ken.
Yes.
And didn't you guys do a crusade with Tom?
We did. That was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
when Ken and I went, I think it was exhausting. We went for a week, and we went to all these little towns.
Yeah.
And remember, every little town we went to, we would share the gospel because we planted a pastor in there, and we built the well.
Yeah.
We had invested in that,
Yeah.
and then we would go to all these little towns.
Yeah.
And whenever you would go, as you know, because you've been. It was like we were the only 2 white people,
Right.
And literally we go to this town, and we'd walk through the town. They would literally, the men would follow us through the town. Like, what are you doing here?
Right.
We would stop, share the word. The interpreter would interpret what we were saying,
Right.
and people would just come to faith, and like it was like amazing. And then at night we would do the big open air crusades,
Right.
and we would pray for the sick.
Yeah.
And it was like one after another.
Isn't it amazing?
People would get healed, and I literally would come back thinking, Ken, I don't know if all of what just happened was real, like if they couldn't understand what I was asking them.
Yeah.
But I understood them, and I'm thinking every one of these people was getting healed, and it was like deaf people. And Ken was like, yes, I know. I'm like, I wonder if they understood. But I had an interpreter, so it was like, I really believe they did. Satan was trying to talk me out of it. And that by far was, if anybody, that trip will stretch you more than you've ever been
supernatural.
stressed.
When you see somebody deaf who couldn't hear, now they can. There's no other answer than this is supernatural.
It was amazing.
This is God, and not just one. Everybody you pray for.
Lines.
Yeah.
It was you. They would. I remember telling Ken, when Jesus describes, or when the Bible describes Jesus was pressed in on all sides, that's how it was there.
Yeah.
Because everyone was getting healed, they just kept coming and coming, and lines of people would just come. It was thousands of people that would just come, and there was all the pastors that would pray. And I remember thinking, this is absolutely the most amazing thing in the world. It's the most beautiful.
mind-boggling, man.
Like that. I'm disappointed that one thing that I haven't gone back since, and I'm glad to hear that you are, because I really want to go.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, we connected with the church planter in India, Santos and Anjali. Santos watches our podcast, so maybe he's hearing this one too. We want to come back soon, and I want you to go with us if your schedule allows.
Absolutely want to go.
Santos is a church planter. He's from India, came to Christ, came to faith, and God called him into the ministry, and he's on his 15th church plant. I mean,
Maybe we can get involved with that church plan, and then
absolutely.
go for another one.
Let's do it. We just planted a new one last year. We helped build the building and do a lot of other stuff to help Santos get to the next level. But he's raising up an army of church planters now. He's sending people to villages. And during the pandemic, India stayed on the lockdown a lot longer than we did.
Yeah.
And a
Those
lot
poor people.
more harsh. You know, you couldn't leave your house.
Yeah.
So they were literally starving in their houses. And Santos took the resources that Journey sent him, and he fed those 15 villages. He brought food to them and cared for their pastors and took care of them while they were battling COVID. You know, he's just a mighty man of God. You know, and he emailed me a couple of weeks ago and said he thinks his lifetime assignment is to plant 5,000 churches in India. You know, so God's still moving in India.
Yes.
1 billion people, well, more than 1 billion now people. Most of them have never heard the gospel.
And they're packed in. Like, it's like going to remind me of New York. They're just.
What airport did you land in? Do you remember? In India?
Where's the Taj Mahal?
Well, the Taj Mahal is in Agra. It's a smaller town. It's about 4 miles from the big city. So maybe it was.
I felt like it was by there, because I think I remember seeing it when Ken and I first got there.
Yeah.
And I was really deceived because when I first got there, we were in this big town.
Yeah.
And we stayed at the Marriott. And I'm like, this is great, man.
First world. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then we left to go to our other hotels in the little because you got to drive for hours and hours and hours to get to where you're going.
Exactly.
You know?
And the traffic, man, is crazy, huh?
Yeah, and the roads are horrible.
Yeah.
So, but that was my favorite trip, and I would encourage anyone.
We took the interstate from the capital all the way to Agra to see the Taj Mahal, which is an amazing building, man.
Yeah, it's sad though, isn't it?
It is. It's so sad.
Sad that they built it for a dead guy.
It's the greatest
All that money.
tourist attraction in India is a mausoleum.
Yeah.
Which is almost symbolic
Sad.
of the nation, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of darkness, a lot
It
of
really
death.
is sad.
So we took the interstate all the way to Agra, and it was 4 lanes. It's the best road in that area, but there were trucks and cars and donkeys
Rickshaws.
and elephants and, you know, every kind of animal. Like, whoa, man.
Crazy.
You know, it was amazing.
You know, one thing that God spoke to me in that trip, though, that I think was really impactful when I was leaving. I stopped and there's a big cat. There's that people pray to.
Yeah.
It had like multiple arms. It was like because they had like 30,000 or 300,000 gods, right? Like, but they had those statues, and you would go give money to the guy to pray, and God said, "I want you to go tell that guy." You pray to your God, I'll pray to mine, and we'll see who answers.
Oh, wow.
And so I stopped, went talk to him. He says, no.
Yeah.
I said, no. You pray, I pray to our God, and let's see. Yeah. No, because he didn't want to lose his money. And so I remember leaving that guy and saying, Lord, this is really sad. It's sick. What? Yeah. Like, he said, David, America's the same way. Yeah. There's more houses are people's idols. Cars are people's idols. Oh my gosh. And I remember thinking to myself in that moment, you drive your Mercedes, you live in your house, and you have your boat. And I'm thinking, okay, it's true. Yeah. These are and I, after that trip in 2009, God began to make those things less important and start to get rid of it. Like, you don't need these things anymore. All these things that you had, because they're just like, they were idols. It was like you put your name on your license plate. And I'm like, what for? Yeah. So people can see you? No. It was just that God began to shed those things. Yeah. That trip was really impactful, not just in, Jeremiah on the horizon and giving. It was really about giving God control even more of my life and saying, you still have idols, son.
Yeah.
And I want them all.
You know, I find that God does more in me on those missions trips than he does through me. I always come back radically changed, on fire for Jesus, passionate for the lost. It's amazing how when you leave your comfort and what your idols are, you know, and America's as poor as India. Our poverty is just, you know, covered over with some makeup, but we're still poor in spirit. I mean, we're still worshiping idols, you know.
You know what God just reminded me of?
What?
When you said that,
Yeah.
2007, when you and I went on our mission trip together,
Yeah.
we were flying back and we stopped in LA.
Yeah, we did.
And we went to the Dream Center. We forgot about that. And we stopped in LA and we went to the Dream Center.
We did.
And that was what God did. Like that whole trip for me was on the way back.
Yeah.
We stop and the guy takes us on a tour.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm literally sitting in the back of the church.
That's
You and I
right.
are in the very last row.
Right.
We couldn't get a place. It was like the last two seats, remember?
Yeah.
And we go into Matthew Barnett's church.
That's right.
I'm sitting in the top with you, and God says two things. I want to do this, meaning the Dream Center in New Orleans.
That's right.
And all of a sudden, I was like, he gave me a vision.
Yeah.
And I was standing in the Sanger Theater.
That's right. You told me that.
And I was talking to 5,000 people.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't know where all this is going, but that's what I saw. And that was in 2007 that God said, okay, I want to do this in the city of New Orleans. That's where that dream came from.
I'd forgotten that we stopped there because it was on a whim.
Correct. It was on the way back.
Let's go. Was it called Angela's Temple or whatever it was? Let's go to church.
Yep.
And we went to Angela's Temple, and Matthew Barnett preached that day.
Yes.
And we got to talk to him for a few minutes, but the Holy Spirit talked to you that day.
Yes. That was the first mission trip.
Yeah.
So,
that's right. And it set in motion a lot of dominoes.
a lot of
man.
stuff.
Look what God's doing now, you know.
Humbling and good.
Where you are. When you first came to me with the idea, you said, hey, I want to go do some outreach on the streets of New Orleans. What you want to do, Dave? You said, well, I'm going to take some donuts and some sandwiches and just go under the bridge, you know.
Yes.
I was like, David, I love that. Go do it, man. And you did. You know, you went down and just started a ministry under the bridge.
Yes. God said, feed people.
Yeah. Tell me about how that got started. What led up to that? And
well, that of course, when you and I came back, it's so much. But the just the Reader's Digest version of it was the only thing is when I heard God say, was I'm gonna in other words, He wanted me to do it.
Yeah.
So He had to crush me for a while.
Wow. Isn't that always the case?
Yeah, He had to humble me because I was still so full of pride.
Yeah.
Because everything that I had touched when I met the Lord, He had blessed so much that I didn't understand how anyone could meet the Lord and not experience everything that I had experienced.
Yeah.
So I just had a false pretense, like, okay, you meet the Lord, life is great and grand.
Right.
Well, that's all I experienced for 4 years. So it really was for me. This experience.
Yeah.
So God really then, from that season, from showing me the vision that He was going to walk out in my life, but that's key. Now I can look back and say, He was going to fulfill the vision that He gave me.
Yeah.
When I tried to do it, He crushed me.
Yeah.
And everything I touched for a while went really bad. Lost close to $3 million over the course of time because of going to do and fulfill God's vision that He put in my heart. But it was His vision.
Isn't it amazing how there's always that season of crushing that always comes before, you know, the wine is made?
Yeah. He did that. He crushed me and my family.
I remember.
He crushed me in showing me.
Yeah.
I remember, and this was pivotal, sitting in my office, and I think I might have shared this with you, is saying, God said to me, David, my whole office is showing up, and I was reading the Word, and I got done reading, and God said, David, do you love your staff? And I said, of course. And they're like trickling in, and my door is still closed. And He said, David, do you love the people that work for you? And I said, yeah. But I kind of, wow, this is a strange conversation
Yeah.
that me and God are having.
Yeah.
And then a third time he said, no, to David, do you love them? And I remember stopping in that moment and saying, I don't even know how.
Mm.
That it was like I knew that he was saying, you don't?
Yeah.
Stop. And I said, you know what, God, I don't.
Yeah.
And I remember just weeping and thinking, I don't even know yet that I know how to love the way he did.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I know that I didn't because I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Like I'm still so far away
Yeah.
from loving like he does.
Yeah.
Still selfish and prideful at
Right.
times, arrogant. But he, and that's where the crushing began too, because it was like, you don't love people.
Wow.
You love people as long as they're creating value for you.
Yeah.
And so what happened was all those people stopped producing,
Wow.
and then I had to learn to love them in spite of what they were doing for me.
Yeah.
And that was a problem because everything for me was about performance. So he had to grind that out of me.
Man.
That's a wrestling match even today.
So from that first time under the bridge with the bag of donuts,
Yes.
till God opened the door for you to lead in the mission, how long was that span?
So that was 2007 to 2011. It's about 3.5 years.
Wow.
It was almost 3.5 years. Like God's, he's amazing. Like in these numbers.
What is about 42 months, man? Because it's in the Bible. So many, even the Great Tribulation is going to be 42 months.
He did it.
Jesus' ministry was 42 months. I don't know the spiritual significance. Apparently there's something there.
Yes.
And here you go, 42 months before when you started until God opened the door for you.
It was June 2012
Right.
when I started at the New Orleans mission.
Wow.
Completely scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, the mission was struggling.
It was nasty.
Yeah.
I remember walking in, there was more rats than people.
know
The
it.
building was falling apart.
You called me and said, I don't know if I could do this.
Yes.
Yeah, you were like, this is bad.
But the second week I was there,
Yeah.
a woman got raped right outside the building. And
right.
I'm thinking, God, this is so much.
I know, right.
Like, this is more than I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
And I remember going to get a smoothie, and I said, God, I just don't think I can do this. And
Right.
he said, I never asked you to.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, I'm going to do it.
Right.
You're going to love people.
Yeah.
That's what I've called you to do.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take care of everything else. And that's kind of been the journey that
Yeah.
we've been on, is
Yeah.
you
You
love
love people, and you do the natural, he does the supernatural.
And he's got to do this loving through me.
Yeah, I know, right? He even does that part.
Yeah, you just got to say yes.
So you've been there 10 years now.
Yeah, almost 9
Yeah,
years.
Going on 10. Yeah. at
Yes.
the New Orleans. So you're the executive director.
Yep.
Director of the New Orleans mission.
Yes.
And man, you've expanded all over the place. So
Yeah.
give us a little update as we wind things down. Tell us
Yep.
where you are.
Yep.
What's going on with the mission? How many people you guys are serving?
Yep.
All the other locations you're opening. I know you got
Yep.
all kind of things going on. So
Yes.
just give us an update.
So we finished our $8 million renovation on our main campus. So
Yeah.
that building is done. We added a beautiful $1 million day room, which serves people during the day. So we have a workout facility, a clothing room, a game room, and then a computer lab for resume building, job search, etc. And then we bought a building across the street. We expanded our administrative building so we could take 16 women, multiply that to by two, have 32 women in the city.
Yeah.
So God blessed us with an admin building. And then he expanded us, of course, to here to Lacombe,
Right.
which is our men's facility, which is 60 acres,
Yeah.
where we serve 90 men walk them through addiction,
Yeah.
mental illness. And then God blessed us in Hammond,
Yeah.
too, with a women's facility, 18 acres, a beautiful event
What
center.
a beautiful place. I was there last year for the
Gala.
Gala, there it is. Yeah, man.
We got that again November 19th.
I'll be
Hopefully
there.
we'll see you there.
Dude, it's a beautiful campus, man.
gorgeous.
You guys had the trees lit with the lights.
Yes.
It was just like magical, man.
Because it's an event center where the
Yeah.
women actually work.
I know,
They
and
create income
create
for
income for the
themselves.
ministry, yeah.
And for themselves.
Right. Oh, really? And then you have all the housing in the back.
Correct,
for
where the
them.
women stay. We can
Yeah.
have 32 women
Yeah.
that stay there now.
Yeah.
And then God recently is blessing us. I'm walking out, taking a property. A woman had a vision that God would wanted her to buy 40 acres north of I-10 in Crestview, Florida.
Oh, wow.
And God gave her that vision, and so she bought it.
Yeah.
And she cleared the land, and she's like, this is too much for me to do on my own, and God put her with us.
David.
And so this week, I'm going there on Friday to work out the details on her donating that for women with children.
Man.
So that's kind of like been the final piece of the puzzle that I thought God would do, is that we wanted to be able to serve everyone.
It'll be transitional housing?
It'll be long term for women.
Wow.
Year, where they get their children back.
Sure.
And we walk alongside them for a year till they can go move out with their kids on their own.
David.
So whether that's women that've been in our program already and they're getting their kids back, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Kind of still walking that out. So, and God just, I think I shared with you, God bless us with another transitional house. So we have 2 now that we can house men.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing because when we first got there, we had 1 building and a women's center and an unused transitional house.
Right.
And there was like 116 people. Now we have 320 people. And we have $20 million in buildings and campuses, and God's just been doing it. But he's doing it because I really believe love people, love God, and he takes care of the details. Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm a businessman.
Yeah. That's the best thing, man. When you don't know, you have to rely on Jesus.
Yes.
And he does know.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's so beautiful, David. Ministry is so simple when you say it like that. I love people and let God do the supernatural that I can't do.
That's right.
That's powerful, man. So if a person watching wants to support the New Orleans mission or wants to help you, tell us how they can get in contact with you.
So, of course, volunteering, they can go on the website, neworleansmission.org.
Right.
Volunteer, so many ways to get involved, from serving a meal, teaching a class, connecting with the women, just outreach, whatever. And then, of course, can give. Same site, neworleansmission.org. Go on, give. And they could choose what they want to give to. The women's program, the men's program, the outreach, the food service. And connect that way. So all through the website's the best and easiest way.
neworleansmission.org.
Yes.
David Bottner.
That's
Man,
it.
I'm so proud of you, David.
Thank you.
So
You've been a
proud of you.
huge part of this journey.
Man, I'm glad I had a little part, whatever my little part was. It's been a joy, man, because you have done more than I think you thought you could do.
For sure.
Yeah, and you have a great future still ahead of you. You're still a young man. You're in your 40s, man.
Yeah,
You're
49.
a kid.
49.
Yeah, you see, the thing about ministry is most professions, you start retiring when you're 50. In ministry, that's the prime years, man. 50s are the best time in ministry, I've found.
Well, I would just encourage people that are listening too, is that you don't, with you, you had no idea who you were investing in.
Yeah.
You invested every Monday with me, and you invested a lot more.
Yeah.
But that's where it began.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to invest.
Yeah.
And so what happens is they never get to see the fruit that you got to see.
Yeah.
So by the grace of God, and sometimes we don't get to see the fruit.
Sometimes we don't.
Sometimes we may never get to see it.
Yeah.
But it happens.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to trust God for that.
True.
But we just sow, and God does the rest. So thank you for sowing and being faithful.
Man, it's my privilege, my honor, actually. And I think probably the best thing that comes out of discipleship and doing life together are the friends that you make, because I treasure our friendship. Even though we're not together in the same building all the time, I just still count you as one of my close friends. We got to experience a lot of really cool things together. We saw God do some amazing things in us and through us and around us. And man, and you were such a key part of our church in its formative years. You came along at such a great time for us. You gave as generously as we gave to you. And, it's that kind of relationship that makes the kingdom of God special, is that two people giving 100% to Jesus, and to each other. Amidst all of our flaws and our weaknesses and our struggles and our fears, God just shows up and does more than you could possibly have imagined.
You loved me well. Thank you.
It's an honor, man. You were easy to love.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I will always consider you a friend, David, and a spiritual son, even though we're almost the same age.
Yeah.
I'm older than you.
Yes, you are.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to turn 60, man, next year.
Yeah, you're 11 years old.
What happened? Oh, my gosh. I'm 58. So I'm clinging to 58 right now.
All right, well, you're not 11 years. I'm about to be 50.
Yeah, so I'm 8 years. Well,
Yeah.
I'll be 59 in a few weeks.
Okay.
So I got,
You're 10 years older.
Yeah, I'm 10 years older.
Okay.
Than you. Yeah, but I just, I can't believe how fast my life has gone by. All my kids are grown. We have 5 kids. My youngest is 20. He's going to Southeastern. He's in college. And, my oldest is 36. And, it's just such, life is so fast.
Remember when we took Cade to the Saints training
I
camp?
do very well.
He was squished in the
Cade-
back of the Jag.
Cade's right over here.
I know.
Yeah, I know. And so me and you and Cade went to the train. Did we do chapel that day or something?
You did. You used the light bulb and taught on hope.
That's right. I
It's
remember.
amazing what we can remember.
I know, right?
But I can't remember my kids' names at times. Ayla, Dave, Jeremiah.
Wait, I know you live here. Yeah, we went to the training camp. I forgot about that, man. Me, you, and Cade. Cade was a little boy.
Yeah, he was in. We shoved him in the back
I know
of the
he
car.
was squeezing the back
stuffed
of the
back there.
Jaguar. Yeah, that was a fun day, man. We got to do chapel with these big New Orleans Saints guys. And who was
Eat
the
with
coach
them.
at that time?
Was it Hazlitt or
Haslett.
something?
Jim Haslett was the coach.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
there
even came to chapel.
Yeah.
He came to chapel, sat on the front row.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you
Aaron
liked
Brooks
it.
was the quarterback.
That's right. Brooks
He
was the
needed
quarterback.
to come to
He
chapel.
needed to get saved. He needed to get filled with the Holy Ghost for sure, man. Yeah. I know. God is so good, bro. We had some great days together, man. David, it's been so good catching up with you.
Glad
What
to
an
be
honor
here.
and a
Thank
privilege.
you.
Yeah, so proud of you and Emily, all your kids. What a great family you're building. What a great ministry you're building. And
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to visit our podcast today. Hey, this is Doug McAllister from Journey Fellowship Church, and this has been Stories I Didn't Get to Tell Last Sunday with my good friend David Bottner. If you are somewhere on the North Shore, come visit Journey. Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock, we're on Pontchartrain Drive. You can download the Journey app. It's free from your app store. Just type in Journey Fellowship Church in the search bar. Download the app. It's chock full of resources to help you in your faith, pass messages, find a small group, get directions to drive to the church, how to get connected in a local body. We'd love to have you come be part of what God's doing here at Journey. For more information, you can check out journeyfellowshipchurch.com. My blog is dougmcallister.com. I do a weekly blog. But we'd love to connect with you and hang out with you and worship the Lord with you if you're interested in doing that. David, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So God bless you. We'll see you next week for Stories I Didn't Get to Tell Last Sunday.